The morning sun peeked through the leaves of the tall iroko tree, casting a gentle shadow over the small village of Umuaku. In a humble home made of clay walls and thatched roof, a daiobi was getting ready for work. She was a beautiful young woman. A daiobi was always cheerful. She was a seamstress and worked at a shop near the marketplace, where she sewed beautiful dresses for the villagers. As she tied her headscarf, she kissed her little daughter, Chinyere, on the forehead. "Be a good girl today, my love. I will be back soon," a daiobi whispered. She hugged her husband, Namdi, and gave him a warm smile before stepping out of the house. The day started like any other. The village was buzzing with life. Children ran around playing with sticks. Women gossiped by the riverside as they washed clothes, and men gathered to discuss the harvest. But as the day went on, something strange began to happen. A daiobi did not return home. Namdi waited patiently at first, thinking she must have been busy at the shop. He checked the clock on the wall, an old wooden piece that ticked slowly. When it was long past dusk, he began to worry. He left Chinyere with their neighbor, Mama Nkechi, and decided to head towards the marketplace to look for a daiobi. As Namdi walked down the narrow, dusty path, his heart pounded against his chest. The night was dark, with only the faint light of the moon guiding his steps. When he reached the marketplace, it was almost deserted. He hurried to the shop where a daiobi worked, but it was locked up, and no one was around. He called out to a few people nearby, but they all shook their heads. "I saw her earlier in the day," said one woman who sold vegetables, "but I don't know where she went after that." Namdi felt a chill run down his spine. He decided to go to the village chief's house to seek help. The chief, an old man named Obiako, listened carefully as Namdi explained the situation. "This is unusual," Chief Obiako said, rubbing his chin. "A daiobi is not the type to just disappear." He called for a few of the village elders and some young men to form a search party. "We will find her," he assured Namdi, but his voice held a hint of worry. The men took lanterns and sticks and began searching through the village, calling out a daiobi's name. They went from house to house, checking every corner, every hidden place, but there was no sign of her. Meanwhile, back at home, Chinyere sat by the window, her little heart filled with fear. "Mama, where are you?" she whispered to herself. Her eyes filled with tears. She clutched her mother's old wrapper tightly, feeling its softness against her cheek. It still smelled like a daiobi, a mix of lavender and palm oil. As she closed her eyes, she prayed silently, hoping her mother would come back soon. Hours turned into days, and still there was no sign of a daiobi. The village was in turmoil. People whispered and gossiped about what could have happened. Some said she had run away. Others believed something terrible must have happened to her. Namdi could barely eat or sleep. He felt like a shadow of himself, haunted by the mystery of his wife's disappearance. He spent his days wandering around, asking everyone he met if they had seen a daiobi, but the answers were always the same. No one had seen her since that morning. The village elders decided to consult the oracle, a woman named Agbara, who lived in a small hut at the edge of the forest. Agbara was known for her ability to see things that others could not. When Namdi and the elders arrived, they found her sitting outside her hut, stirring a pot of herbs. Her eyes were sharp and penetrating, as if she could see right through them. "I know why you are here," she said before they could speak. "You seek answers about the one who is missing." She closed her eyes and began to chant in a language none of them understood. The air grew cold, and a strong wind blew through the trees, making them rustle like whispers. After a long silence, Agbara opened her eyes. "She is not far. she said in a low, mysterious voice. "But she is trapped between two worlds, the world of the living and the world of the spirits." Namdi's heart sank. "What does that mean?" he asked, his voice trembling. "It means," Akbara continued, "that someone or something does not want her to return. There is a dark force at play." The villagers gasped in fear. Namdi's face turned pale. He could feel his heart racing, and his hands trembled. "Can we bring her back?" he asked desperately. Akbara nodded slowly. "There is a way," she said, "but it will not be easy. You must find the one who holds her spirit captive." She pointed towards the forest. There, in the heart of the forest, lives a man named Ikenna. He is a powerful sorcerer, and I believe he knows where Adaobi is. Namdi felt a surge of hope. "I will go," he said firmly. "I will find him and bring my wife back." The villagers looked at him with admiration and fear. They knew the forest was dangerous, filled with wild animals and dark spirits. With a heavy heart and a strong will, Namdi set out towards the forest. The villagers prayed for his safety, and Chinyere watched as her father disappeared into the thick trees. "Bring Mama back," she whispered, holding her mother's wrapper close to her heart. As Namdi ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and the trees seemed to close in around him. He could hear strange noises, the howling of wolves, the rustling of leaves, and distant whispers that sent chills down his spine. After hours of walking, Namdi finally reached a small clearing. There he saw a hut made of mud and straw. Smoke rose from its chimney, and he could hear a faint chanting from inside. He approached cautiously and knocked on the door. A tall, thin man with piercing eyes opened the door. "I am Ikenna," he said in a voice that was both calm and menacing. "I know why you are here." Namdi swallowed hard. "Please," he begged, "tell me where my wife is." Ikenna stared at him for a long moment, then smiled. "She is safe," he said, "but you must do something for me if you want her back." Namdi's mind raced with confusion and fear. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Ikenna's smile widened, revealing his yellowed teeth. "I need something of great value," he replied, "something dear to your heart." Namdi's heart sank. He thought of his daughter, Chinyere, back in the village. "No," he said firmly, "I will not give you my child." Ikenna laughed, a deep, unsettling sound. "Not your child, foolish man," he said. "I want a part of your soul." Namdi was taken aback. "My soul?" he asked, confused. "Yes," Ikenna replied. "You see, every soul has a light, a power that can be harnessed. Give me a part of yours, and I will release your wife." Namdi hesitated. He knew the dangers of dealing with a sorcerer, but he had no choice. "How do I do that?" he asked cautiously. Ikenna walked over to a large pot filled with a dark, bubbling liquid. "Drink this," he instructed, "and your soul will be bound to me forever. But remember, once you do, there is no turning back." Namdi took a deep breath. He thought of Adaobi, of her bright smile, her laughter, and how much he missed her. He knew he had to be strong. He took the cup from Ikenna and drank the dark liquid. It tasted bitter and cold, like 1,000 needles piercing his throat. Suddenly he felt a sharp pain in his chest, and everything around him went dark. He could hear Ikenna chanting, his voice growing louder and louder, until it was all Namdi could hear. Then, as quickly as it began, it stopped. Namdi opened his eyes. He was back in the forest. But something was different. He felt lighter, weaker, as if a part of him was missing. Ikenna stood before him, holding a small vial filled with a glowing liquid. "This is your soul," he said, "or what is left of it." Namdi felt a wave of fear wash over him. "Now," Ikenna continued, "go to the old well at the edge of the forest. You will find her there." Without another word, Namdi turned and ran. He ran faster than he had ever run before, his heart pounding in his chest, his breath coming in short gasps. He reached the old well and peered inside. It was dark and deep, and he could see nothing but shadows. "Adaobi!" he called out, his voice echoing down the well. There was no answer. He called again, louder this time. Still, there was only silence. He was about to turn away when he heard a faint voice. "Namdi!" It was Adaobi. With all his strength, Namdi climbed down into the well, using the rough stones as handholds. As he reached the bottom, he saw Adaobi lying there, her eyes closed, her body cold. "Adaobi!" he cried, rushing to her side. He shook her gently, but she did not wake. He felt a surge of panic. "No," he whispered. "Please, no." He lifted her in his arms, and as he did, he felt something warm and sticky on his hands. Blood. Namdi's heart stopped. "Adaobi, please," he begged. "Wake up." He felt tears streaming down his face. He could not lose her. Not now. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. Holding her close, then slowly, he felt her stir. Her eyes fluttered open and she looked at him with confusion. "Namdi," she whispered weakly. What happened?" Namdi smiled through his tears. "You are safe now," he said. "You are safe." But deep down, he knew that the deal he had made with Ikenna would come at a great cost. He knew that his troubles were far from over. As he climbed out of the well with Adaobi in his arms, he could feel the darkness closing in around them, like a shadow that would never go away.